Hello everybody. Today's lesson is all about fractions. So today I want us to learn what a fraction is, what we mean by equal parts, and what a numerator and denominator is, and be able to label a fraction and show which parts are the numerator and the denominator. So, what is a fraction? When you split a whole into equal parts, you get a fraction. So let's take this pizza, for example. This is the pizza that I'm going to have for dinner, and I might want to split it into pieces so that I can share it. So if I was sharing the pizza with my brother, I might split it into 2 equal parts. So you can see I've got one part here and another part here. I've split my whole into 2 equal parts. Got one part on this side and the other part is on this side. So this side is a fraction and this side is a fraction. A fraction is simply where we split a whole into equal pieces. If I gave my brother one of the pieces, if I gave him this piece, for example, what fraction of the whole would I have given him? Let's see if you can remember from year 1. See if you can tell somebody in your family what fraction of the pizza is this. Did you get it? It's 1/2. I could split my pizza into more pieces. It doesn't just have to be split twice. I could split it into 4 equal pieces. As you can see, I've got one piece here, the second piece here, and the third piece here, and the fourth piece here. So each of these pieces are a fraction of the whole. A fraction is where you split a whole into equal pieces. It doesn't just have to be a pizza that I could split up, it could be anything. So if I had this chocolate bar, I got lots of yummy chocolate for Easter. I hope you got some chocolate as well. If I had this chocolate bar, I could split it into different equal parts. So again, I could split it into half. As you can see, I've got one part and another part. So I've split the whole into 2 equal parts. I can split the chocolate bar any way as long as the parts are equal. So if I want to split it into 2 equal parts, it doesn't just have to be down this way. Vertically, I could split it horizontally. Like this, because you can see I've still got one part here and another part here. So this is one fraction and this is another fraction. I've got half of the chocolate bar here and another half here. Again, I could split the chocolate bar into 4 equal parts by splitting it into quarters, as long as the 4 sections are equal. So I can split this whole chocolate bar into 4 pieces to give me different fractions. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can see I've got one part here, another here, another here, and another here. Each part is equal, so I've got a fraction. Each part here is a fraction. There's a fraction, that's a fraction, that's a fraction, and that's a fraction. So remember, a fraction is where you split a whole into equal parts. Now, it doesn't just have to be one thing that you can split into pieces to make a fraction. It doesn't just have to be one pizza that you split up, or one chocolate bar, or one cake that you can split. It could be a group of objects or a group of people. So imagine this is Dragonflies or Butterflies class. Imagine this is the whole class. So this is my whole. This whole set of people is my whole. Now, I might split the whole class up into groups. Sometimes we split the class into groups to do different tasks. So I could split the whole class into 2 groups, as long as each group is equal. So I can check that they're equal by making sure that each group is the same size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they are equal. So that means this group is a fraction of the whole, and this group is a fraction of the whole class as well. So I've got half of the whole class here and half of the whole class here. If I wanted to split the class into 3 equal groups, I could do that as well. So I check that each group is equal. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So each group is an equal size. So that means this is a fraction of the whole class. This is a fraction of the whole class. And this is a fraction of the whole class. So a fraction is simply when you have a whole amount, and that could be one thing or it could be a group of things, and you split it into equal groups. It doesn't matter the size of the whole amount, and it doesn't matter how many groups you split it into, but what does matter is that they're equal. So what does equal actually mean? What do we mean by equal parts? Equal means the same as. So we looked earlier at this class and we split them into 2 equal groups. So if you split them into 2 equal groups to create a fraction, your 2 pieces have to fit back together again to make the whole amount. So if I do that again, and I split them into the 2 groups, I should be able to take 2 of those pieces which make the same amount. Let's check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They're the same size, which means they fit back together again to make the same amount. Now, if I do this so that it's not equal, let's say I split it here and say that they are fractions of the whole. Let's see what happens if I try and put them back together again using 2 of these parts. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, when the original size of the group was 12. So I can't fit them back together again to make the whole. This is why the parts must be equal, so that when you put the pieces back together again, it makes the original size of the whole. Okay, now let's look at writing fractions. So if I go back to my pizza and split it in half into 2 equal groups, here is one of my fractions, one of my parts of the whole. And we've said that that is 1/2, 1 out of 2 equal pieces. So we literally write it as 1 out of 2. This bottom number here is what we call the denominator. The denominator tells us how many parts the whole has been split into. As you can see, the whole has been split in to 2 equal parts. So the denominator tells us how many parts the whole has been split into. This number here at the top is called the numerator. The numerator tells us how many parts of the whole we've got. So this part is the one that I get to eat. So I've got 1/2 of the pizza, 1 out of 2. So the line here in the fraction separates the numerator from the denominator, and it tells us how many pieces we've got out of the amount of pieces that we have. So let's look at that again. With this pizza, I am splitting it into 4 equal parts. So my denominator is going to be 4. I've split the whole into 4 equal parts. There's my line to separate the numerator and denominator. And I get to eat, lucky me, 3 of those equal parts. So my numerator is going to be 3. So I like to say I've split the whole into 4 equal parts and I've got 3 of them. Our denominator is the bottom number, which tells us how many parts the whole has been split into. 1, 2, 3, 4. And our numerator is the number at the top, which tells us how many pieces we've got. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to split this chocolate bar into pieces. And I'm going to eat this much. So you can see this is what I've eaten. Can you have a go at writing down the fraction? I've split the whole into 4 equal parts and I've got 2 of them. So the denominator tells us how many parts we've split the whole into, which is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the numerator tells us how many parts we've got. 1, 2. So now it's time for you to show us what you've learnt. So I want you to go around your house and see if you can find things that you can split up into groups to be able to make it into a fraction. So So here in my house, you can see I found some apples. So I'm going to split those apples into equal groups. Can you see that I've split those apples into 2 equal groups of 3? Here's one group and here's another group. So in your books, you could draw those apples. And then you could shade or draw a box around one of the groups. Next to it, you could write the fraction. So I've split the whole into 2 equal groups and I've got one of them. So I've got 1/2 of the apples. Next, I found a piece of paper. I decided to split the piece of paper into 4 equal parts. So in my learning journal, I would draw those 4 pieces of paper. So I've split the whole into 4. And I'm going to shade in or draw a box around 3 of them. But that's up to you how many you shade in. And then underneath, I'm going to write what fraction I've got. So I've split the whole into 4 equal parts and I've got 3 of them. So I've got 3 out of 4, 3/4. Next, I found some colouring pencils. This time I'm going to split my whole set of colouring pencils. So this is the whole amount that I've got in front of me. I'm going to split that into 3 equal groups. Again, it's up to you how many equal groups, how many equal parts you split your whole into. So as you can see, I've split my whole set of colouring pencils into 3 equal groups. So in my book, in my learning journal, I would draw what I've done. So I would draw 1, 2, 3. You can draw your pencils a bit better than I've drawn mine. And I would draw a box around, or I would shade some colouring pencils that I get to keep. So it might be that I'm sharing my colouring pencils with my brother and I'm going to keep these colouring pencils here. So I've got 1 of the 3 groups, which means I've split the whole into 3 equal groups. So my denominator is going to be 3. And I've got 1 of those groups. That's my 1 group. So this is my 1 group. These are the colouring pencils I get to keep. So I've got 1 of them. So I've got 1 out of the 3 groups, out of the 3 fractions. So I've got 1/3. So now it's your turn. I want you to show us that you understand what a fraction is, that a fraction is simply having a whole amount and splitting it into equal parts. I want you to show us that the parts that you're splitting are equal, that they're the same amount. In each part, in each of the fractions, there is the same amount. And I want you to be able to show us that you understand numerator and denominator by writing the fraction that you've made. So have a go. If you get stuck, email your teacher. And when you have finished, ask your parent or your carer to take a photo of what you've done and let us know how you got on. Well done, butterflies and dragonflies. I can't wait to see how you've got on.